Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our new review of the Blacklist, Season 9,
All
Episode
right.
13, entitled Genuine Models, Inc. Are we here to discuss the Blacklist? Or am I really, Matt, at all? Robots, everybody. Robots, just when you think the Blacklist wouldn't go there, we have gone there.
Yeah, listen. The Blacklist has done some pretty out there stuff. So is this really out of the wheelhouse? No, it's not. But, I don't know. We'll talk about this episode. There's some stuff that I did really like about it, but the robot stuff, it wasn't at the top of my list.
Don't do drugs, everyone. All right, now if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We will be here to discuss the show,
Yeah.
preview it. There's all sorts of fun stuff, probably not robot related, coming the rest of the season.
And thank you to everyone out there who's been sending us well wishes for our dog, Coco Chanel Vanderwolf. She went in for surgery on Wednesday. She had a little tumor removed from her eye and a little cyst removed from her back. She's doing really well. That first night, she wasn't doing that well,
Yeah.
but she's doing well now. And we're going to continue to have updates on, her progress and how she's healing and stuff like that over at our Instagram, Matt and Jess TV. So follow us over there if you want to be updated.
Here is the very weird thing about this episode to me, and maybe to tie this into everything with Coco, maybe it is just that it has been a long week. It has been a
Oh yeah.
stressful week.
Yes.
Sleep has not exactly been the best. Maybe there is just like a part of me, and I'm not saying it's a part of me I like, but maybe there's just a part of me that just like appreciated the dumbness of a good 80% of this episode where I didn't really have to keep track of all that much. We didn't have some like blacklist or who was involved in some sort of like weird ambiguous subject matter that's kind of realistic that I will never remember. It was just like halfway through, oh, the robot did it, and then that was basically just the arc of about almost the entirety of the story.
No, I will agree on that part of it. I was sort of sifting through everything because the last episode gave us this whole sort of who's buying up all the shares of Reddington's company. And then
Yeah.
Cassandra's back. I'm like, she did it. Then it was like, we have Matilda. And I was like, oh, she did it. And nobody did it. It's just like I was waiting for that moment of where's the tie in of what is going on.
Here is the answer.
None.
Robots. The robots did it. No, this episode to me clearly just felt like the writers realized at some point that they needed to have 22 episodes this season. So they got a drink, they took a certain something, and then they just went into their typing up this script and came up with whatever in the world this was.
It was a wild ride. I'm not going to pretend that it's not, but as I said, this show has done some pretty out there things, so this is in the wheelhouse, but for me, with everything that's going on right now and sort of all the hanging mysteries, it was a little bit too out there for me of killer robots, man in love with his robot, driving off a cliff, Thelma and Louise style to be with his robot forever. See
It was so
this is
dumb.
why I'm like, what am I watching, guys? What is happening
I
over here?
I was dying when he drove the car over the cliff. It's like, this is so ridiculous. They have to know that this is stupid. And so we're just all in on the joke of how stupid it is.
It was something else. However, I will say that everything that was going on with Cassandra and Matilda and the necklace and sort of all these little, mysteries that are going on, that was really good. I really liked it. I knew, of course, that Matilda was going to be involved some way, some shape, form, whatever. They're not going to have a guest star as big as her come on to be like, I'm just going to be the widow with no like juicy meat on this bone. I was like,
Yeah.
no, no, no. She's got to be involved, man.
This was the least surprising thing about this episode was that, of course, Matilda somehow is involved in something nefarious here. And as it turns out, good old Barney, may he rest in peace, actually wasn't all that much involved in anything. He struggled with all of this. And, Matilda was really the person running the crime spree. Now, I will say this. I almost wanted more out of like their final confrontation with Matilda. I thought she was just maybe it's just because I got poisoned by the robots and I thought everything in this episode was going to be pure camp and we didn't go full camp with Patricia Richardson, but I am happy that we got to see Reddington and Cassandra together again, and while a lot of the story felt like filler, we did kind of get to an interesting spot at the very end of it as he's talking about Mierce and what she did for him.
Yeah, I mean, we know how important she is to him and how much it was so difficult to lose her. I mean, he still has his eggs and she's reading the flowers and everything that's going on. Like, he is not over it and he doesn't want to be. He has said, even to Cassandra, who was kind of like, hey, we're both in town.
Yeah.
Let's have some fun. And he's just like, I am involved. And it's not even necessarily that he's involved with someone who's involved with him back right now because she's left at the moment, but his heart is fully involved. He is committed to her, whether she is committed to him or whatever is going on. I think she's committed to him too. It's just she's not here right now. It's nice to see that he is in this type of a relationship with someone that he feels not only helped him through the darkest spots of his life, but made his life better in all the right ways and changed him so significantly in all the right ways. We haven't really seen a lot of that with someone who's his lover.
It's exciting and it's interesting, and it almost makes me even more bummed out about the fact that, okay, we're getting all this depth from Reddington about Mierce, and yet when Mierce was on the show, they would use her for maybe like 2 or 3 lines, and then that's sort of it. It's like, are you guys going to give us a full episode where we can actually see this relationship develop? Because like so much of it is just hearing about it from Reddington after the fact, and yeah, it's nice to know what she meant to him, but you guys aren't really actually showing us enough of it on screen. You could really be paying this off.
Yeah, no, I agree. When she was on the show, we barely really got to know her very well. And then until that last episode when she left, where I was kind of like, oh, and now she's leaving? Like, no, oh man, like, why is it always got to be like this? So I hope that there's going to be some sort of payoff still coming up, that maybe she is going to come back at a time that he is the man that he feels he needs to be for her, because we've heard how much she's done for him and changed him and filled him with, love. When it comes to what he's given her, we don't have a lot of information on that right now because it would be from her perspective and she's not here.
I think it's going to be fascinating how they can find a way to bring her back, because it seems like her presence in Reddington's life is almost counterintuitive to the purpose of the Blacklist, where if Reddington is not working with the task force and like really in the muck of things, like the show's not as exciting because we need him to be involved in the criminal world. It's like Mierce, however, is like, no, you don't need that. And it's sort of like, okay, Mierce may be the woman Reddington needs, and I mean this is no disrespect to Mierce, but she's almost like the character that all of us watching the Blacklist don't need, because then that means Reddington's not as involved anymore.
Yeah, unless she's able to have some sort of a balance with it, that it's, it's not really about the criminal empire and everything that he does, that it's more of this obsession that is going on with Liz. He can't let go. He's staying in this darkness instead of healing and moving forward. Like, I think she could be there for a balanced relationship with him where he could continue what he's doing, but it's kind of got to get there. And that conversation with Cassandra at the end where he's kind of like, yeah, I am changing. Things are changing for me. I'm really glad for it. I know that a lot of times we watch shows like Blacklist or NCIS or whatever, and we see these characters where it's like, Abby needs to be a goth in her 50s forever. And you're just kind of like, okay, some of us are wondering where the change is. Like, there has to be some movement. If we're going to watch a character for 9 years, they do have to change eventually.
I think the Blacklist has done they've done a really good job of this season, whether it be Reddington talking about it or even just physically. I mean, think about like the clothes he was wearing at the start of this season. He was wearing, I think, a lot of brighter colors. You know, he had like the full, shaved head effect going on at the start of this. And this is the longest I think we've seen Reddington's hair on this show in a long time. So we're seeing a progression towards something. It's not entirely clear what that something is ultimately going to be.
Yeah, and that's okay. I'm here for the ride. We're here till the wheels come off.
Somebody on this show needs to be happy romantically, because nobody ever seems to be. It's either somebody leaves, somebody dies, and then we're just all left being sad.
Yeah, they already ripped my heart out with that Anne storyline, so hopefully this one's gonna have a bit of a happier ending for him.
All right, so let's talk about Cooper here, because I was feeling hopeless last week, kind of preparing for this episode, that my theory about Panabaker was going to go completely and totally just like, and it was never going to happen. But good news, everybody. I'm feeling better.
Good.
I think there's a chance now. Okay, so what we have learned is that the bartender who spiked the drink, they were encouraged to do so by a detective, and a detective who had a very specific badge, who, as we've learned from the show, and thankfully I know nothing about badges, is an NYPD detective who I believe Cynthia Panabaker could have had access to.
I agree. I think that your theory is swimming quite well right now.
Thank you. See, I feel like there is a chance that some of this could make sense just because Panabaker, she's obviously senator. She's very well versed in all sorts of law enforcement at this point because of her time with the FBI. Granted, there still need to be a lot of threads connected for this to make a lot of sense.
Yeah, but the fact that it is connected to law enforcement, I think does connect it much more to Panabaker. She has a lot of influence. She has her time with the FBI, which means that she shook a lot of hands with a lot of different police departments all across the country. I think that she's a pretty good suspect for it. However, I still am in the sort of the camp of this of like, what's the purpose? Like, what is her purpose in doing this? Like, if she just didn't want, Cooper on the task force, she could have agreed with Reddington to be like, okay, I'll put the task force back together, but not Cooper, and this is why.
I'm really excited to sort of see how the writers unravel this because, on another show we're covering right now in Snowfall, I mean, mild spoilers, I'm not going to say any specific names or anything, but they had a big mystery over on that show when we were trying to figure out, like who's going after Franklin. And at first we thought a lot that, it's going to be, this character, that character. And it turned out being someone who we didn't really know. And, on the Blacklist, maybe they will figure out the same exact thing. Maybe it's not actually going to be a Panabaker and it's somebody else with a grudge against Cooper. And if they come up with a good justification, so be it.
Yeah, over on Snowfall, they had a very good justification. I won't spoil it either. It was someone we didn't know, but it was connected to a character that was connected to the beginning. So the payoff, even though we didn't know this character, was like a 10 out of 10. It was so good. So is it possible that there's someone deep in the mythology of the Blacklist that is connected to this and Cooper in some kind of way? It's possible. I mean, the question was raised, like, who did you piss off in, the New York Police Department?
Yeah.
Could it be Panabaker? Could it be somebody connected to Panabaker? Could it be somebody connected to someone else that he's had a long career too?
Yeah. All of this is what I think makes it interesting. And I'm still excited by the Cooper storyline. Like, there's been some rumblings online of some people who maybe are like, okay, this storyline is going on a little bit too long. It's been posted, but it's like, when was the last time that Cooper actually had an arc that was this meaty and this interesting and kind of gave him something to do other than just be at the FBI?
Yeah. To the people that are not enjoying the Cooper storyline, Boo! No, I'm kidding. You cannot like it, but I really like it. But I mean, I'm a Cooper fan. I have,
Yeah.
not made that any secret here at the channel. I just really like Harry. I think he's a really good actor. I like the Cooper character. I think he's really complicated. And when he gets into these types of situations, which are a little bit across the line of the law, but he lives in a gray area a lot of time. And him being in charge and kind of living in that gray area, I think is really fascinating. That's why I really like him.
He's such a good character, and I think his story helped to ground most of the rest of this somewhat absurd episode in an element of seriousness. Oh,
I had forgotten about the killer robots
see,
just for a second. I was like,
nope,
we're getting
can't
into
forget.
the good stuff now.
Okay, no, the straight up the dumbest moment of this entire episode, and I do not use that very, very lightly, was actually pretty early on when Wrestler was like doing the interview with that woman, and she starts like trying to do like some sort of casually like hitting on him, and he just has like this really weird laugh after that's like, Wrestler, why are you laughing so much at this? What is going on here?
I had laughed at it too, because not at him, but when she was just kind of like, "Hey, Wrestler," I started laughing too, and then when he started laughing, I was like, maybe this is just a natural laugh, because the way that actress delivered that line, I was laughing. I was like, oh my God, this is so embarrassing.
I know, that was
It's so funny. And maybe, he was also just like, oh my goodness, I can't.
It was all so
Keep a
cringe.
straight face. No, it was.
The Blacklist is the cringe list this week. What can we say? We had just a really bizarre storyline which, just so everybody knows, I'm not forgetting about this. There will be moments moving forward this season where we will come back and make fun of this storyline a little bit more. But okay, well, whatever. Tell us what you think is the dumbest Blacklister storyline ever in the comments. This is a good time for that. Anyway, hit that subscribe button, guys. We will be here to preview the next episode. We'll have, of course, a review next week after it airs.
Yep.
Follow us on Instagram, @JessTV, and we will see you here next time.